Welcome to Moments in History channel. Have you ever wondered what it takes to bring down a king? What happens when an entire nation, fed up with injustice, decides to rewrite its own destiny? Let's travel back to late 18th century France, a kingdom on the brink of collapse. This is the story of the French Revolution, a 10-year firestorm that not only consumed a monarchy, but also forged the foundations of the modern world. Imagine a society split into three classes, or estates. At the top, you have the clergy, the first estate, who own vast lands but pay almost no taxes. Next, the nobility. The second estate, living lives of luxury, also exempt from the heavy financial burdens. And then there's everyone else. The third estate. This group makes up 97% of the population, from poor peasants and city workers to educated merchants and lawyers. They shoulder the entire tax load, funding the extravagant lifestyle of the court and the kingdom's expensive wars. As you can imagine, resentment was simmering just beneath the surface. The situation was made worse by a perfect storm of crises. The country was bankrupt, partly thanks to its support for the American Revolution. Ironic, isn't it? Bad harvests led to skyrocketing bread prices, and people were literally starving in the streets while King Louis XVI and Queen Marie Antoinette lived in splendor at the Palace of Versailles. On top of this, new ideas were spreading like wildfire. Thinkers of the Enlightenment like Rousseau and Voltaire were questioning everything: the divine right of kings, the privileges of the aristocracy, the very structure of society. They championed reason, individual rights, and the idea that governments should serve the people, not the other way around. Desperate for a solution to the financial crisis, King Louis XVI did something no king had done in over 170 years. He called a meeting of the Estates General in May 1789. This assembly brought together representatives from all three estates. But there was a catch. Each estate got only one vote. This meant the first and second estates could always outvote the third estate, 2-1, ensuring their privileges remained untouched. The members of the third estate knew this was their moment to demand real change. They declared themselves the National Assembly, the true representatives of the French people, and vowed not to disband until they had written a constitution. The king, sensing a threat to his power, tried to lock them out of their meeting hall, but they simply relocated to a nearby indoor tennis court and took the famous tennis court oath, a solemn promise to create a new, fairer system of government. The revolution was now in motion. Tensions in Paris reached a boiling point. The people feared the king would use the army to crush the new assembly. On July 14, 1789, a mob, searching for weapons and gunpowder, stormed the Bastille, a medieval fortress used as a state prison. The fall of the Bastille was more symbolic than strategic. It held only a handful of prisoners, but it was a deafening message to the monarchy. The people would not be silenced. This day is still celebrated as France's national holiday, a symbol of liberation from tyranny. News of the Bastille's fall spread across the countryside, sparking what was called the Great Fear. Peasants, fearing retaliation from their noble landlords, rose up, burning manor houses and destroying records of their feudal obligations. In a single night in August, the National Assembly responded by formally abolishing feudalism, wiping away centuries of aristocratic privilege. Just weeks later, they issued one of the most important documents in human history, the Declaration of the Rights of Man and of the Citizen. Inspired by the American Declaration of Independence, it proclaimed that all men are born and remain free and equal in rights. It guaranteed liberty, property, security, and resistance to oppression. The old world of subjects was gone. The new world of citizens had begun. But the revolution was far from over. In October, thousands of Parisian women, furious over the continuing bread shortages, marched 12 miles to Versailles. Armed with pikes and kitchen knives, they stormed the palace and forced the royal family to move to Paris, where they could be watched by the people. France was now a constitutional monarchy, with the king's power limited by the assembly. But this compromise wouldn't last. The revolution became more radical, more divided. Different political clubs, like the moderate Girondins and the radical Jacobins, vied for control, each with a different vision for France's future. The king and queen's fate was sealed when they tried to flee the country in 1791. They were caught near the border, and brought back to Paris as virtual prisoners. This escape attempt shattered any remaining trust in the monarchy. Meanwhile, other European monarchies watched in horror, fearing that the revolutionary fever might spread to their own countries. Austria and Prussia declared war on France, hoping to restore the king to full power. This foreign threat only fueled the revolutionary paranoia. The people of Paris, fearing traitors within, stormed the Tuileries Palace, arrested the king, and declared France a republic in September 1792. The monarchy was officially dead. What followed was the revolution's darkest chapter, the Reign of Terror. Led by the powerful Jacobin leader Maximilien Robespierre and the Committee of Public Safety, the government sought to purge France of its internal enemies. A new, efficient killing machine, the guillotine, became the symbol of this brutal period. Anyone suspected of being a counter-revolutionary could be arrested, given a sham trial, and sent to their death. Neighbors denounced neighbors, and fear gripped the nation. In January 1793, citizen Louis Capet, the former King Louis XVI, was executed by guillotine. 9 months later, Marie Antoinette met the same fate. Over the next year, an estimated 40,000 people were executed or died in prison. The revolution, which had begun with ideals of liberty, was now devouring its own children. Robespierre's goal was to create a republic of virtue, a society based on pure reason and civic duty. The government tried to de-Christianize France, creating a new calendar and a new state religion, the cult of the supreme being. But his fanaticism and the relentless bloodshed turned even his allies against him. In July 1794, Robespierre himself was arrested and guillotined. The Reign of Terror was over. France then entered a more conservative phase, governed by a 5-man committee called the Directory, but this government was weak, corrupt, and plagued by constant political instability and economic problems. The people were exhausted by years of chaos and war. They longed for order and stability, and one man was perfectly positioned to provide it. His name was Napoleon Bonaparte, a brilliant and ambitious young general who had become a national hero through his stunning military victories. In 1799, Napoleon staged a coup d'état, overthrowing the Directory and effectively ending the French Revolution. He would go on to crown himself emperor, establishing a new kind of authoritarian rule. It might seem like the revolution had come full circle, replacing one absolute ruler with another. But that's not the whole story. Napoleon, while a dictator, preserved many of the revolution's key achievements. He created the Napoleonic Code, a single legal system that recognized the equality of all citizens before the law. He centralized the government, reformed the banking system, and promoted education. And as his armies marched across Europe, they spread the revolutionary ideals of liberty, equality, and nationalism, dismantling feudal structures wherever they went. So what is the legacy of the French Revolution? It's immense. It permanently crippled the power of absolute monarchy and the aristocracy. It established the principle that political power comes from the people, not from God. It gave birth to modern nationalism, the idea that a nation is defined by its people and their shared culture, not by a ruling dynasty. Concepts we take for granted today, like human rights, legal equality, and secular government, were all powerfully advanced by the revolution. It inspired countless other movements for independence and democracy around the globe, from Latin America to Russia. The French Revolution was a messy, violent, and often contradictory event. It was a story of hope and terror, of noble ideals and brutal realities. But its impact is undeniable. It was a pivotal moment when ordinary people dared to believe they could change the world, and in doing so, they forever altered the course of human history. Thanks for watching. If you found this journey through revolutionary France interesting, please hit the like button and subscribe to Moments in History channel for more deep dives into the events that shaped our world. Let me know in the comments what other historical events you'd like to explore next. See you in the next video.